Let's start simple. Open your eyes. Look around you. What do you see? Maybe a desk, your phone, your pet, or even a half-eaten sandwich you forgot about. Now let me ask you this. Are you really seeing those things as they are? Or are you just seeing what your brain wants you to see? It feels almost insulting to ask, right? I mean, of course you're seeing reality. A red apple is red. A hard surface is hard. A piece of chocolate tastes sweet. End of discussion, right? Nope, not even close. Science tells us that your brain doesn't just passively receive reality like a camera taking a picture. Instead, it's more like an artist painting on a blank canvas, constructing everything you see, hear, smell, and experience in real time. Let's unpack how this works. When you look at something like the red of that apple, light waves bounce off of it and hit the back of your eye. Those signals are then sent to your brain to process. But here's the catch: the apple isn't actually red. There's no such thing as redness in the physical world. What your brain does is interpret those light waves and create the experience of red. The same thing happens for every single thing you experience. It gets even weirder. Billions, yes, billions of neurons in your brain are working overtime every second to construct this illusion. And it's not just colors, shapes, motion, depth, even time itself. They're all being pieced together by your brain on the fly. It's like you're living inside a virtual reality game where you are the player, your brain is the game engine, and the world around you is just a convincing simulation. Let's take a fun example. Have you ever seen an optical illusion? Like when you stare at two lines and one looks longer, but they're actually the same. Or when a flat, 2D drawing suddenly looks like a 3D object. In those moments, you're catching your brain in the act. It's trying to make sense of incomplete information by filling in the gaps with its best guess. Spoiler, it's often wrong.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more topics you love.
Still not convinced? Let me blow your mind. Scientists have proven that your brain doesn't even process the entire world at once. It's too much information. Instead, it only focuses on what's important for survival. Think of it like this: your brain is a cheap phone with limited storage. It doesn't download the whole internet, it just grabs the highlights it thinks you need. Everything else? Deleted. And this isn't just a theory, it's backed by evolution. For millions of years, our ancestors didn't need to see the world as it really was to survive. They just needed to see enough to hunt, find shelter, and avoid danger. Nature didn't care about truth, it cared about fitness. So over time, evolution gave us a brain that's not optimized for accuracy, it's optimized for survival. Now, let's pause here. If your brain isn't showing you reality, then what is reality? Is the world actually flat? Is time just an illusion? Are physical objects even real? These questions are so important, but we'll answer them soon. For now, just ask yourself this: if your brain is lying to you every second of every day, how much of your life is real at all? But don't go anywhere yet, because in the next part, we're diving into something even crazier: why evolution doesn't just hide reality, it destroys it. And I'll prove it with a beetle, a beer bottle, and some math. Trust me, you don't want to miss this. Alright, so by now you get that your brain doesn't show you reality as it is, it shows you what it needs to for survival. But here's the wild part: it's not just hiding the truth, evolution is actively filtering it out. Let me show you why. Picture this: you're an Australian jewel beetle. Weird example? Stick with me. You're dimpled, glossy, and brown, pretty much the insect equivalent of a supermodel. The males of your species are hardwired to find females that look just like you. So when a male sees you, he locks on, mates, and boom, new baby beetles. Simple, right? But then humans show up. They drink their beer, toss their brown, shiny bottles into the outback, and suddenly, male beetles lose their minds. Why? Because to them, the beer bottles look like the biggest, sexiest female beetles they've ever seen. They swarm the bottles, completely ignoring the real females. And get this, the species almost went extinct because the males were too busy trying to mate with freaking trash. What does this have to do with us? Everything. The beetles didn't see reality, they saw what evolution programmed them to see. For them, reality wasn't important. Survival was. And guess what? We're no different. Evolution isn't about truth, it's about fitness. What helps you survive and reproduce? That's what your brain focuses on. Everything else, irrelevant. For the beetle, fitness was about finding a dimpled, glossy object. For us, it's about seeing enough of the world to avoid danger, find food, and pass on our genes. To prove this, scientists ran simulations where they pitted organisms that could see reality against ones that couldn't. The results? The creatures that ignored reality but focused on survival absolutely dominated. The ones that saw the world as it really was, they went extinct every single time. Think about what this means. Your brain isn't just bad at showing you reality, it's not even trying. It's like your brain is running on cheat codes, ignore the truth. Just stay alive. And it works. But it also means that everything you think you know about the world could be wrong. Now, let me hit you with a question. If we don't see reality, then what is reality? Is it some kind of cosmic code? A machine? A network of consciousness? Or something else entirely? We'll explore that in the next part. But before we get there, let me leave you with this. If evolution gave you a brain that's built on shortcuts and hacks, can you ever trust your own mind? The next part is the big one. We're going to talk about what reality might actually be. And spoiler, it's nothing like you think. Plus, I'll reveal how this knowledge can change your life. Get ready, because this is where it gets real. Okay, you've made it this far, so let's tackle the big question. If we don't see reality as it is, then what is reality? The short answer: nobody knows. But here's where things get interesting. Some scientists believe that reality is like a giant desktop interface. Think about your computer. When you see a blue folder icon on your screen, you don't actually think there's a physical blue folder inside your computer, right? It's just a symbol, a shortcut to help you interact with the computer's complex system without frying your brain. Well, what if the world you see, time, space, physical objects, is just your brain's desktop? The red apple, the blue sky, the feeling of velvet, they're all icons. They're not real, they're just tools to help you navigate reality and survive. But what's behind the desktop? Maybe it's a vast network of interacting systems. Maybe it's a machine. Or maybe, here's the wildest theory, it's a network of consciousness. Imagine that reality is made up of countless conscious agents, like a web of minds interacting with each other. Your brain and your perceptions are just one tiny part of this massive system. Now, why does this matter? Because understanding this can change everything. If you realize that your perceptions are just shortcuts, you stop taking them so literally. You stop letting fear, anger, or even your own thoughts control you. After all, if your brain is lying to you, why believe everything it tells you? Here's the practical takeaway question: everything Don't assume that what you see, hear, or think is the truth. Instead, focus on what's useful. What helps you grow? What helps you connect with others? What helps you live a better, fuller life? The truth might be out there, but maybe you don't need it to be happy. And that's it. But before you go, ask yourself this: if your brain is a liar, how do you know you're even real? Leave your answers in the comments. Oh, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because trust me, your friends need to hear this. All right, let's keep going because we're not done yet. There's one more piece of this reality puzzle that we need to discuss, and it might be the most mind-blowing part of all. What if the very thing you're using to think about reality, your brain, isn't real either? What if your thoughts, your emotions, even your sense of self, are just part of the same illusion? Yeah, it's about to get wild, so strap in. Let's address the elephant in the room: your brain. Everything we've talked about so far, how your perceptions are constructed, how evolution filters out reality, how your mind creates shortcuts to survive, it all comes back to one thing: the brain. But here's the kicker: what if your brain isn't the mastermind behind your experiences? What if it's just another icon on the desktop? Let me explain. When you think of your brain, you probably imagine a squishy, gray organ packed with neurons firing electrical signals. And for decades, scientists have told us that this is the control center of everything. Your brain creates your thoughts, your emotions, your memories. It's basically the CEO of your body, right? But what if that's not true? What if the brain is just another symbol your mind uses to make sense of reality? Here's an analogy. Imagine playing a video game. Let's say you're running around as a character, picking up items, fighting enemies, completing quests. The game is so immersive that you feel like you're inside it. But you're not. You're sitting on your couch, holding a controller. The character on the screen isn't you. It's just a representation, a tool that lets you interact with the game world. Now, think about your brain the same way. When you have a thought or a feeling, your brain isn't actually creating it. It's just the interface your consciousness uses to interact with the world. In other words, your brain isn't the source of your reality. It's just one part of the illusion. And here's the evidence: neuroscientists have discovered that your brain doesn't work the way we thought it did. For example, when you make a decision, your brain shows activity before you're even aware of making the choice. Think about that. You're not in control of your brain. It's running on autopilot, making decisions behind the scenes, and then telling you what you decided. And you just go along with it, believing you're the one in charge. This idea that your brain is just another layer of the illusion completely changes how we think about consciousness. Because if your brain isn't the source of your thoughts, then what is? Is it something deeper? Something beyond the physical world? This is where things get really interesting. Let's go back to evolution for a second. Remember how we said that evolution shapes perception, not for truth, but for survival? Well, the same principle applies here. Your brain isn't designed to show you reality. It's designed to keep you alive. That's why it gives you all these shortcuts and tricks, because knowing the truth about the universe isn't necessary for survival. But here's the thing: we've reached a point in human history where survival is no longer the only goal. We're not just trying to avoid predators or find food anymore. We're asking bigger questions. Who are we? Why are we here? What is the nature of reality? And to answer those questions, we might need to go beyond the brain. Some scientists believe that consciousness, the real you, isn't something your brain creates. Instead, it's something your brain receives. Think of it like a radio. A radio doesn't create music, it just picks up signals from somewhere else. In the same way, your brain might just be picking up signals from a deeper reality, something we can't see, touch, or measure yet. This idea isn't new. Philosophers like Descartes and Kant have been saying for centuries that the mind and the body are separate. But now, science is starting to catch up. Researchers are exploring theories that consciousness exists independently of the brain. Some even suggest that consciousness might be the fundamental building block of the universe, that everything we see, from stars to atoms, is just a manifestation of this deeper, underlying consciousness. If that's true, it changes everything. It means that you're not just a biological machine running on neurons and chemicals. You're something much bigger, something that exists beyond space and time. And the brain? It's just a tool, a temporary interface that lets you experience this particular version of reality. Okay, let's bring this back down to earth for a second. All of this, your brain as an icon, consciousness as the foundation of reality, the illusion of perception, it's fascinating, sure. But what do you do with it? How does this knowledge actually help you in your everyday life? Here's the first thing: stop taking your thoughts so seriously. If your brain is just an interface, then your thoughts aren't you. They're just signals passing through. So when you have a negative thought like "I'm not good enough," or "I can't do this," remember that it's just noise. You don't have to believe it. You can observe it, let it pass, and move on. The second thing: question your assumptions about the world. If your perceptions aren't showing you the truth, then don't be so quick to judge things as good or bad, right or wrong. Instead, ask yourself, what's really going on here? What am I not seeing? This kind of curiosity can help you approach life with more openness and less fear. And finally, remember that there's more to you than meets the eye. You're not just a brain. You're not just a body. You're part of something much bigger, something we don't fully understand yet. And that's okay. The fact that we don't have all the answers is what makes life so exciting. It means there's always more to discover, more to explore, more to experience. So let's wrap this up. Do we see reality as it is? No, not even close. Our brains aren't cameras, they're artists, painting a simplified version of the world to help us survive. Evolution didn't design us to see the truth, it designed us to stay alive. And that means everything we experience, colors, shapes, objects, even time itself, is just an illusion. A desktop interface, a trick. But that doesn't mean life is meaningless. In fact, it's the opposite. Once you realize that reality is bigger, stranger, and more fascinating than you ever imagined, it opens up a whole new way of seeing the world. It's no longer about what you see, it's about how you choose to live. So the next time you look at a red apple, or a blue sky, or even your own reflection in the mirror, remember this: you're not seeing the truth. You're seeing an icon. But behind that icon lies a mystery, a reality so vast and complex that it defies comprehension. And isn't that kind of amazing? All right, that's it for today, but before you go, let me ask you one last question. If your brain isn't real and your perceptions aren't real, then what are you? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And hey, if this video blew your mind, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Trust me, your friends need to hear this too. See you in the next one.